Thank you all for remaining or joining us today here. We've got three folks here from Fashion Institute of Technology, Elaine Maldonado, Tamara Couples, and Jeffrey Ryman. And they're here to talk to us about teaching 3, 4, and 6-hour classes remotely, meeting pandemic-driven challenges with evidence-based faculty development. And they've asked that to hold your questions to the end. They're going to answer all questions at 11:45, but feel free to put things in the chat to parking lot them, or possibly one of them can answer it while the other person is talking. So I'm going to turn it over to Elaine.
Yes.
Elaine. Okay, wonderful.
Perfect. So good morning, everyone, and definitely hello from FIT. So the three of us, just to tell you a little bit about what the three of us do at FIT, is that I'm the Director of Faculty Development and the Center for Excellence in Teaching. Tamara Couple is the Executive Director of Online Learning and Academic Technologies. And Jeffrey Ryman is the Coordinator and Instructional Designer for the Center for Excellence in Teaching. And I know in many schools, the Teaching Center and the Division or Department of Online Learning is one office. But at FIT, it's interesting because we actually have separate offices. Tammy is the director of her office and I'm the director of mine. But we work together a lot because, of course, there's a big overlap with Blackboard and meeting platforms and those kinds of technologies. During the summer and spring, when we had to make this huge, heavy lift into remote teaching, Tammy really was the leader of that initiative. I mean, I just can't imagine how exhausted she must have been at the end of the summer. But we worked together to try and provide as much as we possibly could for FIT's faculty. One of the big challenges we had at FIT, and I say this for having taught illustration and drawing for many years of my life, were the studio classes at FIT and other classes that went on for 3, 4, and 6 hours. And the messages that we were getting was that a lot of it had to be synchronous. And faculty just did not know where to go with that. Now, I spent about 30 years in the classroom, and I would say core to the faculty development program at FIT is what I like to call evidence-based faculty development, which means that those of us who do administration don't go into a dark room and figure out what's best for faculty. We listen to faculty because they're the people in the classroom and they really know what they need. So after we got through the summer, we survived and we were about to start on the spring. We thought, let's listen and see how our faculty are doing and what they need that perhaps we haven't provided. So we came up with a 2-part event. And I know we have a flyer for it, right? Somewhere. There we go. It was a 2-part workshop and it was pretty straightforward. And in part 1, we listened to faculty. And that's a little scary because FIT faculty are very frisky and they will tell you what they need and what they don't have. But we listened, Tammy and Jeffrey and I listened to the faculty in part 1. And we recorded their comments and we recorded the comments raw. And then based on what we heard, we all sat down along with Tammy's technical manager who does tremendous work in the Blackboard field, Jose Diaz. And in part 2, Jeffrey and Jose got together and provided faculty in that workshop with some of the tools that might have addressed the challenges that faculty were describing to us in part 2. So what we're going to do today is we're going to listen to a couple of very short snippets of faculty recordings, and we kind of divided them into 3 areas, and one having to do with the environment, one having to do with student needs, and to just listen to what faculty say. And as I say, we haven't tweaked or edited these at all. This is exactly what we heard. And then Jeffrey is going to talk to you about what kind of tools he and Jose shared with faculty in part 2. And then finally, we did do a follow-up survey to find out from faculty how they felt about this kind of an event, a 2-part event like this. And we're going to share with you a graphic demonstration. You know, we took the numbers and, hey, we are FIT, right? We turned them into graphic images, and we'll show you what the results look like. So before we get going, I'm going to turn this over to Tammy. And I know she had some very interesting challenges that I think she would like to share with you. So Tammy.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. So I lead the Office of Online Learning. So prior to the pandemic, my office worked mainly with instructors of online courses. FIT runs close to 700 online sections per year. And we always gave minimal support to face-to-face faculty by inviting them to workshops and overseeing the LMS and related tools, but never direct pedagogical support to face-to-face instructors. So when the pandemic hit, we really ramped up our support to remote instructors. And there have been, of course, a lot of lessons learned. And of course, the first major lesson was just how challenging it is for faculty who never planned to teach remotely, never even planned to use the LMS heavily at all. So I was used to working with instructors who were enthusiastic and already had bought into the concepts of online teaching, instructors who we were able to train for a full semester and then go through a whole course certification process with us. So these instructors, as all of you have also struggled with, were thrown into remote teaching with no choice. And that just created a lot of challenges. So when Elaine and Jeffrey put together this event, I was so grateful because it really helped me see up close examples of the challenges we knew faculty were facing. A lot of these issues, as this presentation hits on, are communications related. So figuring out how to structure the course in the LMS, doing a live demo in draping or fitting, and wondering how to best answer questions and connect with students at the same time. Dealing with not being able to see all students' faces at one time, not being able to read the room, struggling with how to build great presentations in this environment when faculty were used to the classroom tools that they had access to. Figuring out how to collect student feedback, mid-semester feedback, or feedback on your lectures every time. So when we worked with the CET over the summer to put together the remote instructor optional training course, we tried to help faculty overcome these challenges. Maybe I can share some of our solutions later if we have time, but this faculty discussion that Elaine and Jeffrey held was really key to informing some of that. So I'll let you see what's in the presentation now.
You know, I wanted to add one little, I should have mentioned when I was first speaking, but the kind of courses that we were particularly concerned with, because when Tammy mentions draping, I always laugh because I had originally come from an engineering school at CUNY, where our high-risk courses tended to be things like structures and, you know, calculus. Draping is a high-risk course at FIT where we actually have tutoring for it. So the kind of studio classes, if you've taken an art class or you've taught an art class, that if you're in a 6-hour painting class or 6-hour jewelry making, illustration, fashion design has been particularly challenging. So, you know, the art and design school at FIT is huge, but the number of classes that are held in studios. So just so that when we say studio classes, I just wanted to give you an idea of what kind of courses we're talking about: packaging design, you know, textile development, weaving. And these could be 6 hours long in one day. So Jeffrey's gonna move us on and we'll listen to the first little snippet of recording.
Jeffrey, we're not hearing it.
Yeah, Jeffrey?
You might need to reshare your screen, Jeffrey, and then click at the bottom, share audio, when you share your screen in Zoom. So stop. I'm gonna, yeah, I'm gonna do. All right. All right, Jeffrey, try again. And when you share it, you should see a button that you click that says share audio at the bottom of the screen.
We were listening to it before. Okay.
Elaine or Tammy, do you have a copy of the
I
slides?
do not.
Yeah, should we share those?
Oh, here we go.
Wait, maybe he's
Oh, he's got it. He's doing it. Okay.
okay. If anybody can do it, it's Jeffrey.
I have full faith in him.
Yeah, me too.
Jeffrey, why don't you just turn your mic on and then we'll hear it through your speakers, even though that's not ideal. That's how it was working before. Nope. Elaine and Tammy, do you think you could just summarize what they said?
Well, I think what we could do, you know, I'm not sure if we can even, Jeffrey, Jeffrey, can you hear me at all? I'm not sure whether.
Yeah. I don't understand why it didn't work this time when it worked before. So, you know,
Last time it was sharing it through your speaker. So when you played it, it was playing on your computer and we were hearing it through your mic. So you need to keep your mic on because it's not sharing it through the normal share.
Got it. Okay.
So just keep your mic on and press play.
I just want to find the slide that just disappeared. So
Yeah, that was weird, wasn't it?
Yeah.
yeah, we're just going to press on, Elaine, though. We're not going to.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Let me do that again. Hey guys, this doesn't look good. Now, can you see the screen?
yes, but we're in
Yeah.
history.
Okay.
We're
Good.
not
Okay. So I'm just going to leave it unmuted and we'll proceed.
Okay, but you need to get out of the, yeah, there you go.
Okay.
It's funny how that slide disappeared, isn't it? Yeah.
We'll find it with Jimmy Hoffa.
My biggest issue is when I am in the live classroom, I'm very good at reading the room, as I'm sure most of you all are, in terms of, you know, what I'm saying resonating. Are the students getting it? Are they distracted? Are they wandering off in space? Are they on other devices instead of engaged in the discussion? And I'm able to manage that and bring them in, right? And I think that's a you know, very, very important in the classes I teach, and I'm sure that's true for most of you. That's my biggest frustration. In the collaborate, you can't do that. And even though I pepper the students with, do you have any questions? And you know, occasionally someone will bring up a question, but it's rare. And that's my biggest frustration. So if anyone has any helpful hints, I'm all ears.
Okay, you know, I will add that one way, because you can see the participant list, is you can kind of let the students know that you can call on anybody very much the way you would call on them in a face-to-face setting. So if I were to go and say, hey, Alex Nagel, how do you feel about what Marty just said? Alex needs to kind of open up his microphone and respond. And can you, Alex?
Yes, I can. So I actually had the same issues also with what Roberta just commented here on, that I have full attendance in classes on remote learning also, and I'm not sure though whether students participate. So I really try as often as possible to engage them in kind of activities that require them
Yeah.
to.
I was like, well, I know.
That they come back from there with some feedback. So it helps really when you keep them constantly engaged. So every, I would say 15, 20 minutes, if you do kind of a lecture style or so, to just have them do some work, and they come back.
That's it, Elaine. Elaine, can I just insert something here?
Sure.
The comment that we somehow missed, and some of the comments you're hearing now relate directly to Collaborate Ultra. At the time of the pivot, Collaborate Ultra being fully integrated into our LMS was the choice that we were recommending to everybody. And so many people were frustrated by the limitations of being able to see the entire class. And of course, many of them were adapting to using that technology for the first time. Elaine, I'm sorry.
So, no, I was going to say, do we have Eileen's recording? Is that one okay?
Studio classes are here.
Okay.
Studio classes are quite a bit more challenging, I've found, than like doing a lecture class. I've done a multiplicity of videos, and that has worked pretty well. And I figured out how to grade. It's not exactly the same, but I'm able to grade in a way that works through photographs and so on. I did a voice thread thing, so they got the experience of like going to the museum. And then they had an assignment based off that. And after some glitches, they now are putting those assignments in the right spot. But in the fall, I have different kinds of classes. One is draping and one is pattern making.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. So did we ever discover that other slide or not?
No, but I paraphrased it pretty much.
Okay, bizarre. So Jeffrey, now we'll go to what you and Jose were actually doing in part 2.
Okay, thank you. Apologies for the technical issues. I'm a little new at this, I guess. So among the challenges we had was a segment of the community that was completely unaccustomed to using any kind of collaborative technology, because let's face it, if you're teaching jewelry design, draping, shoemaking, accessories, manufacturing, and so on, and that represents a significant portion of the school. So we had to come up with ways to help the faculty to work with their students in ways that were fairly straightforward. All the while, though, I want to emphasize, we primarily aimed for interaction with a minimum use of technology until they developed the comfort level to be able to achieve that. We did focus on 2 technologies in particular, VoiceThread and Padlet. I know that many of you are familiar with one or both of them, but the way we used VoiceThread, for example, was for critique. Students could create their own voice threads and submit their work for the professor to annotate, draw on, and comment using audio or video. This turned out to be a very powerful tool because of VoiceThread's ability to draw on top of an image. Not only an image, but to also draw on top of a video just by pausing at that particular interval. So students and faculty alike found VoiceThread to be very, very useful in, let's call it that, less traditional way, in addition to using them, of course, for discussions. I also want to point out that VoiceThread's kind of a Swiss Army knife because you can make a quick talking head video just as easily as you can make a voice thread. So a lot of people use it for a wide variety of things. Now, Padlet, on the other hand, oh, and let me just say, VoiceThread completely asynchronous. We do not recommend synchronous use of it, although of course, anything is possible if you have enough time. Padlet, on the other hand, has the advantage of being synchronous and asynchronous. And we have a little example of a workshop we did with the faculty. So all the names you're seeing here are professors from FIT, not their students. And so we just did a simple exercise where we asked them to create Padlets with about 10 minutes of instruction on who is an influencer or who was influenced by the Beatles. And we got a tremendous amount of response. Some of them are anonymous because they logged in with a guest link, and those that actually had accounts already were able to just use their names. One of the beauties of Padlet also is that you can embed video, whether it be video of yourself or video from another source. You could actually even embed a voice thread into Padlet. Anything that has embed code can go in there. And so the way Jose and I conducted the workshop is very much the way we would teach students. And so we became the exemplar by having the faculty serve as students in this particular context, and then to perform some very simple tasks using both VoiceThread and Padlet. And basically in about 90 active minutes, we were able to explore both, which led to a great deal of work that we did with the faculty offline afterwards. The goal of the workshop was not to teach people exactly how to use it, but was to demonstrate how it could be used in teaching in a way that was very hands-on. And we have found since these workshops, and I know that Tammy could attest to this also, the use of VoiceThread, which was already heavy, and the use of Padlet caught fire. And we have people who, if anything, were saying, hey, you don't have to do a Padlet every week. You don't have to do a VoiceThread every week. There's other ways to do things. However, this was very successful. And in conducting the workshops in general, explaining to the faculty how we were teaching the workshops so they could then see the cause and effect. And I will say, you know, so ironically, during that time, Jose and I were averaging between 20 and 25 faculty contacts a week. And never once did I have a problem sharing my screen or my sounds. So, but today was the day after I told Elaine we've done it hundreds of times. Is there anything else I missed, Elaine or Tammy?
No, that's excellent. And but before they give us the hook, I definitely want to show the go through the survey slides, Jeffrey.
Okay.
So yeah, so one of the things, you know, we're very, like, we don't really ask faculty, well, how would you rate the speaker? Or how would you rate the, you know, that's not very helpful kind of feedback if you're trying to improve classroom practice. So we usually ask how a particular experience might affect your teaching to the positive going forward. So I'm not going to dwell on each one, but I'd like you to take a look at the kind of questions that we ask, and you can see we had very we didn't get any ones, right? So let's maybe go on to the next one to find out whether people enjoyed that approach, and you can see that they did. And this is what's the most satisfying, is that you could see the number of faculty who were absolutely sure they were going to try out these new tools. And I think a lot of that is because we didn't decide these were good tools in a dark room, but after they tried these new approaches in the workshop with Jeffrey and Jose, they felt comfortable that they would like to try these going forward. And that's really the point of that kind of workshop. And maybe the next slide, Jeffrey, I don't remember how many.
Elaine, I just want to mention also, these surveys were taken during the workshop. In other words, at the conclusion, we asked people to hold and to respond, at that moment. So they really are flashes of response. This is the next slide, Elaine.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was happy to see that the talking part meant something. Usually, I had found a lot during all this training that we're doing for remote teaching. People just want to know what buttons to push. They don't want to talk about it. They just want the technology. But the faculty really were looking forward to this. And we did actually, based on this question, we did do another faculty roundtable in the beginning of the fall semester, have just a chance for faculty to reflect on what the summer was like and how things were going for them. And I think that opportunity was very, very important. It makes the technology workshop so much more important and puts it in a much bigger context of teaching. And I don't remember how many more slides there were. Is this, there must be maybe one more, Jeffrey? Yeah.
This is it. This is just in conclusion to the hands-on workshop. I also want to point out, Elaine, that after the first workshop, which was everybody talking about the challenges and exploring them together, Elaine moderated, we had, I don't know, somewhere around 80 something attendees, and she moderated it. And some of the feedback was, why are we all complaining to each other? And after they came back to the second workshop, they really saw the value of connecting the context of what the experience was with some tangible ways of making it work. So your feedback initially is not always the best guide of what to do next until they see the whole thing.
Right. Like we took this survey at the end of the second section. And I think, from my point of view, it seemed that there were a lot of faculty that were suffering alone. They were all by themselves. And, the chance to be able to communicate with someone else, I think was very important. So there we go. So if there are questions for us, I guess the best thing is, let me take a look in the chat here. And see if we have any questions. Let's see. Did we start? This is where I'm not sure if we start. Okay.
Okay, so here's a question. Does your campus have a license for Padlet? And the answer is yes. Tammy, you could probably explain the level of license we're using.
Yeah, unlike, there's a couple tools that allow a certain amount of seats, but we have the full Padlet license, and we've integrated it into the LMS. So that's been going well, but really everyone does need an orientation when they start out with Padlet for the most part. So we do have a quick start tutorial on that, and we do have someone in our office, Jose Diaz, that helps them along the way.
Hi, Jessamine. Jessamine has a comment. I've got to say that we faculty in general really overestimate our ability to read the room. I've sat in many a class and observed a lot of issues that the instructor is not noticing. That's a really interesting comment, because I think when all the video is on in Zoom or WebEx or whatever you're using, you actually could sometimes pick that up better.
But Jeffrey, I read that comment as if she was talking about face-to-face classes. Could maybe
yeah, but I think it transfers though, Elaine.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the reasons why so many people complained about only being able to see 4 students.
No, of course, no, I understand that, but I think that in our recording, I think the teacher was referring back to face-to-face experience. So that's why I thought this comment may have been on that. But I do think the challenge of just seeing a few students at the same time, as opposed to being in the classroom, is probably a little bit more challenging, especially if students are putting up photographs of themselves instead of live video.
And I would also just add that one benefit that's come out of this remote environment is that faculty are noting students' feedback a little bit more. I think from the remote instructor course we taught this summer, where we really emphasized polling your students, engaging with them in discussions, asking for feedback, that's something that I think has maybe been a bit of a benefit, that they've been more likely to do that.
You know, my husband teaches at another college, and he had a very interesting comment at the end of the spring. He teaches architecture, and he was saying that he was afraid the student work was not going to be very good, but he said the student work was amazing. And his speculation was that, you know, at least in the city, you couldn't go out that much, and students were super focused on their projects. So that was that was a big advantage for him. Also, at FIT, what they're doing this semester is that the students can sign up for studio time. And I think that's been helping an awful lot. We didn't have that in the spring. There wasn't a program like that, but now students can spend some time in the studio. Very strict sign up protocol, but it is working a little. Oh, yes, I see, Jasmine. Yeah, that I understood it the way, yes, that it was hard to go online because they were reading the room in person. Yeah, I was understanding it that way. But these other comments were making sense to me now also. Yeah, so I don't know if there are any more questions. I hope, you know, one other thing is that we've recorded all of the workshops that we've been doing during the pandemic, so that you can go to Tammy's website or to our website, and faculty can go back to the recordings at their own leisure. The challenge is that we don't have a really big staff. So these recordings are usually, in the olden days when I would record a session, we had time to tweak it and put in a nice entree slide and cut out, you know, Jeffrey and I jabbering away, but they are raw, but faculty are visiting them, the recordings. And I think that's been important for our program as well. So I don't know if there are any more questions.
Did somebody have a question? I'm sorry.
No, I was just asking if they did. Yeah.
So, you know, one thing I do want to mention, though, is many faculty, including faculty brand new to teaching remotely, have been amazed at the interactions they have with the students on a one-to-one and one-to-many situation. And also that the quality of the work has not, I mean, it's not unilaterally true, but a lot of the faculty feel the quality of the work they're getting is equal to, and in some cases, even better. Have you heard that also, Tammy? You're muted.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, definitely. Another thing that we've seen come out of this is that the online office hours have really taken off. This is something that our online instructors always offered, but to offer it this way and have students take advantage of it, there's that one-to-one connection. And also just, you know, we've been offering other tools like little games, gamification of your courses, and other ways to engage. And I think that that investment in engaging has really paid off in the quality of the work too.
Mm-hmm. We've actually been looking into some really interesting software. One piece of software is called Mural. And one of the things that we can do, I saw there were a lot of questions about licenses, is that our center also, we have about 15 computers, which the software in those computers are being accessed by a product called LeoStream right now. So faculty can access a very complex, you know, especially, you know, garment construction software from their homes. And I was just talking to Jeffrey about maybe I can just get the licenses just for my center, and faculty can access it, you know, remotely, the software. So we do have other options without, you know, going down the pike of having the college buy the entire license, because that, as you know, is a much longer process. And hopefully this will be behind us by that time. But there are ways, if you happen to be directing a center in your campus that has computer terminals, you can sometimes get licensed just for your own space and access things that way.
So I wanted to thank you all. It is now 11:50. Thank you, Elaine, Tammy, and Jeffrey for this wonderful presentation on how you all are using engaging in larger classes. I want to encourage you all to stick around for our next presentation, which begins in 4 minutes. So thank you all, and I'm clapping here, and I'm going to clap virtually, but thank you all for the presentation.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.